Thank you for watching the following Getting Started with DSpaceDirect training video. This demonstration will provide an overview of the homepage of a DSpaceDirect account, including the menu, search, browse, and discover features. The video is conducted by Tim Donahue, the technical lead for DSpace and DSpaceDirect. DSpaceDirect is a service from the DSpace not-for-profit organization. Feel free to sit back and enjoy the first video in the DSpaceDirect training video series.
So to get started with, obviously this is sort of the basic DSpace homepage. Your DSpaceDirect instance will look very similar to this. Like I'd mentioned, your theme may be a little different. You may have different logos or headers up at the top. You may have your side menu may be on the left rather than the right, or look a little bit different. But all of the options are the same, because it's the same sort of software. But to kind of give you an overview of the sections that are available and an overview of what DSpace provides in general, it's worth kind of looking at what's on this homepage. So we kind of have the top level introductory information here. This is sort of like the welcome text, the introductory text. It's something that you have the ability to customize through us, though we do need to kind of add it in for you. DSpace does, but you're welcome to kind of tweak the little introductory text here in a way that makes sense for your DSpaceDirect instance, and just let us know what sort of things you want to put in there. As you can see from this example, you can put hyperlinks in there, you can bold text, you can create lists. It's kind of just basic, website text, HTML text. Immediately below that in the center section is a list of the top-level communities. As I had mentioned, that's the top level of the hierarchy within DSpace. You have communities, collections, and items. So that's sort of the introductory into your DSpace site, is these top-level communities. And so it's something to think about when you're organizing your individual site as to what sort of things you want to appear at that top level. And because that top level alone is what appears on this home page. You get a search box, which is also available up in the upper right or upper left, depending on where your menu is, of every single page within DSpace. Obviously, that's providing you a way to quickly search the content. And then there's a recently added section, which basically gives a list of some recent materials that have been put into this particular DSpaceDirect instance. So that's kind of the center section here to kind of go through what kind of appears on that home page. The menu area, which again could be on the left or could be on the right, depending on how you've wanted things set up, has a lot of the ways to actually find content within this DSpace installation or interact with the system. So you got your search box. You got the ability to browse by some of the major metadata fields within DSpace. So you can actually browse the entire community collection hierarchy by clicking on Community and Collections. And I'm going to jump to that real quick just to show. This demo site just has one sample community and one collection underneath it. We'll be creating some more content here today during this demo, but it'll show you the entire hierarchy in this particular page. You can browse by the date that things were actually published or issued. You can browse by particular authors, titles, subjects, normal sort of interaction. You have the My Account feature, which allows you to actually log in and perform tasks within DSpace, and we're going to talk much more about that as we get into the demo more. It also allows people to register with your DSpaceDirect account, and I'll talk more about what that means as well within DSpaceDirect as we go forward. There's this area, this menu called Discover, which is sort of similar to the Browse, but it gives you a little bit of a quicker way to jump right into very popular authors in your system, or very popular subject areas within your system, or jump to a particular date within the system. And there's a count then of the number of items that match that particular field within your system, so you can jump immediately to that if that's what is of most interest. And finally, down here, you also have RSS feeds. So if your users use RSS readers, or if you use them, this gives you an immediate way to actually get a feed of items that are added to your repository as things are added in. It lets you know what the recently added items are. One thing to mention here to be aware of is that a lot of these sections here within the home page also appear throughout the entire DSpace site, but they are context aware. And what I mean by that is if you're at a particular community within it, they're based on that particular community you're within. If you're at a particular collection within DSpace, they're based on the collection that you're in. So it's hard to see that a little bit within this particular demo site, but if I browse to the sample community here, which this is sort of a splash page for a community, it's sort of the home page for a community, you'll notice that some other options immediately start to appear within the side menu. But essentially, it allows you to search within the particular community or collection that you're at. It allows you to immediately browse content within that particular community and collection, so you're not necessarily browsing all of DSpace at once, but now you can browse within that community and collection. The discover options here actually then limit you down to what's within that particular community or within collections underneath that community. So since I only have one community and collection within this demo site, you can't really see that happening here within the demo, at least not yet. Once we create more content, we'll be able to see that a little bit better. But essentially this becomes community specific or collection specific once you browse down to an individual community or an individual collection. The same with the RSS feeds. The RSS feeds are then community specific or collection specific. And even the recent submissions listing becomes community specific or collection specific as you're moving around within the system. So it is a lot of these things are similar features throughout DSpace. It'll become very familiar once you get familiar with the general layout as you're browsing around. But it is kind of understanding where you are within the system and changing the content that you're seeing appropriately based on where you are within the system.
For more information about DSpaceDirect, please visit the DSpaceDirect website at dspacedirect.org or email info@dspacedirect.org.